Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. My name is Amira Haris, student from Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. Thank you for being part of You Alive today. The program today is in 3 sections: a 10-minute talk by our speaker, Ms. Janet Ang, a 20-minute interview with Viswa Sarasivan, chairman of the You Alive Organizing Committee, and then a 30-minute Q&A session. If you wish to ask a question, please make your way to the microphones placed along the aisle, introduce yourself, and speak directly into them. This is essential so that the online community is able to hear your question. Today, we will be using Pigeonhole Live for our Q&A sessions. If you have a smartphone, a tablet, or a personal laptop, just launch your internet browser and go to phlive.at. Key in our event passcode, which is You Alive. I repeat, it is You Alive. Click Go, and you're free to fire away all your burning questions while also voting for any question that may interest you. The more popular questions with more votes will stand a higher chance to be answered by the speakers. So, thank you again for your kind attention, and please sit back and enjoy.
Alive.
Please welcome Ms. Janet Ang.
Thank you, well done. Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay, I'm supposed to stand here, okay, so orchestrated. Well, thank you so much for braving the haze to be here this evening, and I certainly hope that it's going to be worth your effort. Well, you know, I'm really delighted to be here, and I'm very honored to be one of the You Alive speakers. I thank Viswa and the team for braving, you know, this moment of truth. And, being an NUS alumni who have just returned from China, I was telling my friend, where is Kengju? Okay, yes. Thank you so much for, you know, flying all the way back to be in time for this. Either that or he wants me to do another, you know, extracurricular activity for him. But that's what NUS is all about. We connect with one another and we do what we can to support one another, especially business school. Okay, so, you know, for my 10 minutes, this is not the important part. The more important part is when, you know, Viswa comes up afterwards to join me on stage, all right? And I'm looking very much forward to it, right? So just to introduce myself, I wanted to, when I was asked to give this little 10-minute blurb about myself, you know, I thought, you know, what would you want to hear, all right? And without fail, you know, I feel that the first thing is, who am I, right? Because, you know, who am I now comes from really who am I, right? And let me introduce myself. I'm a mother of 4 lovely daughters, the wife of a loving and supportive husband, Tony. He can't be here tonight because he's got to entertain some guests from Beijing. And he has been my Mr. Mom since 1997. So why do I say that? Who am I today actually, of course, you know, culminates in all of these people who have supported me. Of course, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a Singaporean. And I can say that even more loudly, especially as I've lived almost 11 years overseas. Right? So those of us who live at home, sometimes we take it for granted. But because I've lived overseas, you know, carrying the flag of, you know, I'm a Singaporean counts loud and clear. And the other thing is I'm a NUS Business School alumni. Business school. And again, I must admit, you know, even that NUS Business School alumni identity rings a lot louder when you're overseas. All right, that was really true for me because I was the advisor, or I was the advisor to the business school North chapter in China. And I guess, I'm a Roman Catholic because what I'm going to share with you about how I make decisions or why I become the person I am, again, that has got a lot to do with it. And last but not least, I am an IBMer. Yeah, maybe to you all, it doesn't matter. Right, so I've been with IBM, I was with IBM for 31 years minus 4. All right, and I know that in the little nice advertisement that you all have it flashed everywhere, it did say about that part. That's to attract you to come, so that I can tell you a little bit of the story about what made me put the title "Play a Bigger Game." Play a bigger game. All right, whether you're students, and for many of us adults, hopefully as I tell you my story, you probably can see that your own picture, all right, of the bigger game that you have played. All right. So for me, I will tell you a couple of stories as to how, how I feel that this playing a bigger game is important. And like I put in my blurb, the moment of truth was December 8, 2008. I had very, very nice career with IBM, up to at that point in time, almost 23 years with IBM company. I was a vice president of, just newly promoted as a vice president of the corporation, sent overseas to China to be the vice president and general manager for the PC division. Half the market is PCs in China, and half of the IBM business in Greater China at that time was PCs. So, of course, you will always have all your peaks and valleys along the way as you go, but, I was, inverted commas, doing well. And there I went to China, and, perhaps as I looked back, there were already moments where a bigger game mindset was slowly emerging. But I guess the December 8th, when it was announced that I had to move to Lenovo, a Chinese company, that was a moment of truth for me, all right? And it was certainly a humbling experience. I know for many today, they say if you have only one job, you're actually not very successful, all right? But maybe it's from my generation whereby we were brought up, to be loyal. We were brought up to, give back to, whether it's family, whether it's community, and whether it's company, that has brought us up, all right? So, I've always enjoyed IBM because the values we have in mind are very aligned. So it never struck me that I was going to have to move, all right? So at that point in time, I could say the world collapsed in front of me, and I had to work through personally, what is going to be that future. Now, to be very honest, all right, people change jobs. What's such a big deal? All right? No big deal for many. But maybe for me, it was a big deal because I had thought I was going to retire with IBM at that point in time. Right? But from that experience, it showed that, hey, there is, the quote that I gave, God closes the door, but he opens the window. I literally had to reconcile with myself. Number one, forgive IBM for selling me off. First of all, bringing me and my whole family to China and then selling me off to a Chinese company. 2000 Chinese companies are pretty Chinese, all right? So what is going to be the future was very unknown, all right? And in spite of the fact that I was already in China with IBM China, it's going to be a lot of uncertainty, all right? Now, but the whole thing is, Napoleon once said, when China wakes, the world will shake, all right? So that was one thing that I said, hey, here I am in China, all right, sold to a Chinese company. How many people have that opportunity to now go and have a up close and personal, all right, within a real Chinese organization and create history, along with all of the others, of course, who are going to be involved to take a Chinese company global. all right? So it's with that kind of a change in the mindset rather than, feeling pitiful for myself and, oh, why did this happen, and so betrayed by the, action or very action of my going. So that's where the window opened. All right, and it's a long story, of course. So to cut it short, what did I really learn from being up close and personal inside a Chinese company? All right, that really taught me a lot. Number one, speed over perfection. Okay, speed over perfection. All right, the Chinese have just emerged from, you can say, their the earlier, 1984 was when the market opened, when Deng Xiaoping said, black cat or white cat, as long as you, catch mice, you're a good cat, all right? And that's when the doors opened. So how, I'm there, right? So seize the day. And when I thought I seized the day, it was probably from a personal perspective. But when I went into the organization, all right, where there are 10,000 Chinese and 10,000 IBMers, of which, of course, the few of us in China was an obvious minority to the entire Lenovo Chinese company, all right, I learned a lot that, hey, they are hungry, they are fast, all right? So this thing about speed over perfection really rang in my head. And the story I can tell is one of the first projects in my responsibility as the global head of operations for the desktop business unit was when our chairman wanted to launch the IBM, it was still called IBM, but Think Center. The brand is, of course, also sold to Lenovo. All right, the Think Center desktop in India, all right? And in the regular process, it would have taken, X number of months. But typical Chinese style, it's going to be a fraction of the time that's going to be given. And guess what? Of course, we had X plus couple more months, but certainly a lot less than what we would have done in the traditional way. Right. So that really got me thinking that, hey, this is what it's about. It's not just for me alone that I've got to apply this speed over perfection, but it's for the organization, as well as possibly even for countries. All right, that, no longer do we have the luxury of time, especially in the kind of dynamic economic environment that we are all faced with. So that was the first thing. Second is about this thing called, whether you call 干部 or loyalty or family, all right, where the leadership really, crosses boundaries beyond family, all right? They work Sundays, They work Sundays. But of course, when we IBMers joined the organization, when I say they work Sundays, that means when the boss calls for a meeting on Sundays, everybody goes, all right? But I'm sure the colleagues in Lenovo were very appreciative of the cross-cultural exchange, because then when we joined, Sunday meetings, I guess, were given up. All right, but Sunday meetings were given up. All right, because of course, Western MNCs, the majority of us from IBM, we don't have that practice. Of course, we work 24/7, with our BlackBerry, but not official meetings on Sundays. So why do I say that? It's like, hey, if you take care of your employees know, all right, or, shall I say, of your leadership team, all right, they know that their family is also taken care of, all right? Perhaps a little different, all right, from the pure, from regular ways of looking at things, all right? But that was what I saw. The family, you look for the organization, the family is also taken care of. That's the kind of mindset. So how does that apply again? All right, there is a little bit of a dichotomy, of course, all right, because it says that, hey, what happens if you are not part of that leadership? But, I had the opportunity. Okay, you mean I use up the batteries quite so fast? Okay, so where was I? Right, so that was the second thing, about how, that's how they work. All right, that's how they work. And therefore, this thing about relationships, all right, sometimes we take it a little frivolously, all right, but there is a deeper meaning, all right, to relationships than what meets the surface, all right? So, for myself, how was I going to tackle it? I could just be an ordinary IBMer that transitioned over to a Chinese company, or I could take the approach of how can I play a bigger game? And, maybe well taught by NUS, all right? The bigger game is, here I am, lucky and fortunate to at least have some Chinese language background, understand the culture, all right? And, been with an MNC for years. How can I bridge West and East? So, I feel, looking back, that I'm very blessed to have the opportunity to be right in the middle, where the chairman actually calls me that, I am the Qiaoliang, all right, the bridge between the East and the West, all right, and to be able to start working with that team whereby most of them do not speak English at the start of the transition, and by the time I was coming back to IBM, they could all present, in English, and that they could all argue with me, if they choose to, all right, in English. I really felt that, I have done a mission. Right? So now comes this second word, mission, all right? I look back and I say, somehow or other, I feel that I have always charted a mission. I've always done something because I felt it was a mission. Whether I was at IBM, or whether I was at Lenovo. And in fact, truth be told, while I was at Lenovo, of course, I had phone calls, right? But I felt that the job was not done, right? I felt that the job was not done until it gets done, okay? Now, what do we describe as done? Again, long story, but, obviously, you want to create history, the team must be able to truly be global. You must already have set up the place, with the colleagues such that it can really achieve the very goal that they have seeked out to achieve. So, for me, mission kind of very important. And in fact, it dates back to 1993 when I wrote a personal mission statement, after attending a Stephen Covey 7 Habits class. So some of you all may have your own mission statements, and that mission statement that you write for yourself actually does compel me, all right, to try to live it up. Right. Now, of course, I fall many a times, all right, but the important thing is to pick yourself up again, all right, because, I'm not perfect, all right, and humbly so, I make lots of mistakes, and, important thing is never hesitate to ask for forgiveness. Right? So I guess that's one part of, to play that bigger game, of why I play that bigger game, is because I do see that there is an opportunity to influence and to make a change, make a difference, all right? Maybe small ways, maybe big ways, all right? And from that sense, in the work that I do, I look back and I try to say, hey, what more can I do that is bigger than my title, or the definition and perception of the role that I have perhaps been boxed into, okay? And one of my senior executives at IBM back in year 2000, all right, once said to me, all right, that we've got to be bigger than life. All right? Not in a bad sense, not in the sense that, we got to be larger than ourselves and make ourselves, more than who we are. Not that kind of a sense. But more that, hey, we should look beyond what we are, what our role has been defined, and seriously do what it takes to be bigger than ourselves. And taking that advice from this senior executive, all right, I have, every time been very conscious of this need to do it. And in many ways, in a parallel, I can see that Singapore does the same. All right, we've got to be bigger than our market. We got to be bigger than our size, all right? Not in a boastful way or in a proud and arrogant way, but really in order to leverage all the skills and talents that we have, whether as a person or as a company or as a country, to, in some ways, think about it, to survive, in another way, to stay competitive and to stay relevant and authentic. So I've got the -5 sign going up. I'm going to go take my seat. And now for the real show with Mr. Viswa. I really feel so, from this morning, energized that I'm going to come have a chat with him, because this guy speaks with, very important people. So I am so humbled to be counted amongst one of those he is going to be speaking with.
Sucking up doesn't pay. Anyway, recently, Janet, I had a lovely conversation with this gentleman, and he said, only losers who have a deficit of self-confidence stay on a job for more than 5 years. You must be a big-time loser.
Yeah, man, I must be a big-time loser.
And
you said
seriously lacking in confidence.
Absolutely.
And I wonder why we invited you to be a speaker here.
So why?
So tell me, what would be your answer to this gentleman?
Okay, all right. So
who's a product of NUS as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Firstly, we must all be prepared to have diversity of perspectives and diversity of thought. So I respect the gentleman for his view, all right? So the very fact that I've lived my life the way I did, and still am, all right, says that perhaps we come from a different perspective, all right? For me, perhaps it's called, number one, wherever I am, whatever I do, am I creating value? Check. Okay. And does the organization or the community or the group that I work with, continues to create value for me?
For you.
Check. So if this two goes, all right, then comes an even more important thing, which is value system. All right, the values of the organization and my personal values, are we aligned? All right, integrity and personal responsibility, dedication to client success, innovation in things that matter. All right, these are the values of IBM company. All right, and if you read the In Search of Excellence, which is, then the values were written in different words, but pretty much the same. Respect for the individual, customer success, excellence in all we do. And I look at it and I say, hey, in my life, these are values that are aligned. So, and if the first two questions, or the first two criteria went on check, then there is no reason for me to want to seek elsewhere, right? Okay. So that's one part. Second part is the job that we do, or that I get to do, and the roles that I get to experience, and the impact and the influence that I can bring. All right. Do I feel that it goes beyond just doing a job? All right. And the answer again is yes. And furthermore, I get the opportunity to broaden my skills and deepen my competence in a company without changing badges. So that's the reason, why I chose to stay in IBM.
So all the things that you said, you benefited.
Yes.
From being loyal.
Yes.
Are you saying that you couldn't have benefited from if you switched jobs every 5 years? Can you say with certainty that you didn't become a stronger person as a result of being betrayed by IBM, being sold to Lenovo?
Wow, now he's provoking me. Yeah.
No? I'm using her word. She said betrayed. Betrayed is a very strong word.
Strong word, yes.
Right?
Yes. And forgive is another strong word.
Yeah, but she does protest too much. Ophelia said that in Hamlet. Right? So let me tell you this. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
how deep is your sense of betrayal? The fact that you brought it up again, even though you use the term forgive, almost to get us to forget, it suggests to me that the sense of betrayal still exists in your inner recesses.
Okay, I would have to say, if true forgiveness, then, the sense of betrayal is already over. Otherwise, I would not have made another 360 degree and came back to
Maybe you felt you didn't have options.
No. We always, okay, NUS, product of NUS. We have options, right? Engage.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
What has NUS got to do with this?
Okay, no, but
this is called the conventionalist twist,
No, but
in
this
the army
is,
we call it throw smoke.
throw smoke.
Yeah.
No, but this is a serious point, right? Now, how we feel. Okay, betrayal is that feeling at that point in time, in the eyes of the beholder. All right, I thought that I was going to retire with IBM. Yeah, IBM might not have thought that it needed me to retire with IBM at that point in time. That there was greater value that I could create for the IBM company and for our clients and for the partner, Lenovo, by having me go do what I needed to do. All right? And, okay, I mean, again, everything is called when the life's journeys unfold, right? If things turn out differently, I may be telling you something else. Right? But things turned out, I would say, in a large part that I saw this, uncertainty, I saw this difficulties as an opportunity. And when I could go through that and I could figure out, I literally, difficult to explain. I prayed a lot about it. I looked at everything. And that morning, when I stood up in front of the team to say, we are going, all right, the phrase I use is, there is a time for everything under the heavens, all right? There's a season for everything, all right? And this season and this time for us is to go create history. All right, again, if it was something else, I can never tell, right? We can only talk about it from our real experience. And at that time, that was how I felt. So, in fact, I did not, the very fact that I could forgive, and I didn't just forgive quietly, I said it, I forgive you. All right, okay, drama.
Would you say that now she's beginning to talk? No, really, this is what I wanted to hear. Cut the rest of it. Speak from your heart. Now you're speaking. I can see it in your eyes.
Okay.
No, give her a hand, guys. We have, in the scheme of things, less than half an hour for us to understand you and, if possible, to be inspired. So, let me ask you this. Are you not a stronger person as a result of the betrayal?
He choked me. I am choked.
I've never seen this trick before.
Tears are flowing.
No, but I can see the passion. I can see the conviction.
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Are you not a stronger person as a result of the betrayal?
I will have to say yes. I will have to say yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I said, when I went through that window, what I saw was a different, and what emerged was definitely a stronger me, a me that saw a lot more possibilities than where I was. Yeah. All right, but it does not mean that I could not have, we all go through different experiences, all right? So if I want to circle back, because I see that wicked look in his eye, about, people who move every 5 years to different organizations. Yes, they might actually have seen, they might have actually also experienced, everyone has their own stories, right? And for me, I really treasure this blessed history that I have been given the opportunity to journey and to create. And why I use the word create, just now earlier on, we were talking about consequence of our actions.
Yes.
Remember when you said you're 26, whether everybody agrees, you know, and there may be consequences for those who do not agree. Well, actually, I believe that. I believe we are consequences of our actions, our choices, and decisions. I could have crawled into a hole and been the most unhappy person. I could have, you know, just let it be, do what I need to do, you know, find something else to do, you know, or I could try to create history.
Yeah.
All right. So we are consequences of our actions.
What I'm driving at is your speech, your talk just now was about the bigger picture, right? Let's go out there, venture out, embrace what's out there. But you also talked about loyalty. But there seems to be a suggestion of a contradiction. Because if you are loyal, chances are you'll be conservative and lock yourself within what's often defined as the comfort zone. And which then denies you the opportunity to go out there and test the boundaries, right? Yes?
What do you all think? No. How many says yes?
Who is that? Please go out. No, but tell me, there is an apparent contradiction. Your job is to tell me why I'm wrong.
My job is to tell you why you're wrong. Okay, I do feel that, you know, again, it depends on what we define as loyalty. Blind loyalty, maybe, all right? But if you are really loyal, all right, and if you're really passionate about the cause or the community or the work that you do, then in a way, you've got to create that bigger picture and open the windows and the doors, okay, for the community, the family, the organization to be able to go experience what is out there. All right, that's how I feel. That means I don't believe in blind loyalty, all right, or blind faith. I believe in active loyalty and active faith. Can you all hear? So sorry. Usually I'm pretty loud.
Yeah. Can we bring up her level, please?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I'm God.
Be careful.
I know.
Be careful.
I'm provoking.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, for me, you know, Viswa, I guess, you know, I've been brought up with this sense of loyalty.
Yeah.
Because my mother was a Chinese teacher. All right. And perhaps Asians, you know, we Asians, you know, the sense of loyalty has been probably ingrained from the family perspective, all right? So I must admit it did come from that upbringing, all right? But I don't believe in blind loyalty or blind faith. And in fact, we can't claim to be loyal if all we do is think that we are loyal. We have to be actively loyal. Actively loyal means if it is not right, we should be prepared to go do something to help make it right. If it is swerving somewhere else, and we really feel that we've got to get it, you know, to influence, to bring it back, we've got to go do it, and not just talk, all right? So in some sense, I felt that in all my years of growth in the organization at IBM, all right, I have stood on the shoulders of giants, you know, IBMers that were ahead of me, the managers, the mentors that have, seen me through my younger days, all right? And I truly feel that, hey, you know, I saw in many of them, perhaps again it's at that era, all right, whereby the sense of commitment comes together with loyalty. Maybe that's the word, you know, commitment and loyalty must come together, all right? Whereby if we are blindly loyal, all right, or we are only verbal loyal, right, I don't think, you know, for me that works, right? So in that sense, I would, so I cannot totally agree or totally disagree. So neither am I sitting on the fence. I'm just defining it a little bit more specifically.
Yeah.
All right. And because if you look at it, all right, but my loyalty did not totally fail me. All right. Because when, through all of the experiences that I've had, it has demonstrated, back to my first point, values, the value systems are aligned, right? So you can only be loyal if your value systems are aligned, right? So if people work for organizations where their values, is personal values and the organizational values are not aligned, then it might be blind loyalty or blind faith if they carry on, because then they will not be authentic. All right, and I can't judge anybody else. I can only make the judgment for myself. All right, why I choose to stay is because of this. Right, and I do believe that loyalty has a benefit. All right, because it goes deep. All right, that because I have, that I'm able to actually grow that passion for the work that I do. All right, such that I enjoy my work.
Can you be loyal to IBM without working for IBM?
Wow.
This
okay. Can I be loyal? I know.
No, this used to be typical of HP, right? As they say, once you're with HP, you're always HP. Well, it used to be the case before Carly Fiorina, right? Because you become an emissary, an envoy of HP wherever you go. So my question to you is, does loyalty mean or translate to you staying physically with the organization? Or can you still have that emotional loyalty for that organization or for that belief while you're somewhere else? To put it in a nutshell, can you feel for Singapore even if you're not living in Singapore? Didn't you feel for Singapore even though for years you didn't live and reside in Singapore?
Absolutely.
So is it not possible for you to have loyalty without actually continuing to
Are you
work?
offering me a job or something?
No. Do I look silly?
No,
what I mean is I can't afford you.
It may be your loss. Okay.
Of course it will be.
No, so key thing is, of course you can be loyal. IBMers, there's a big IBM alumni as well. And if you ask any of the IBMers who are ex-IBMers, all right, I mean, they probably can tell you the stories of IBM quite passionately. I mean, I'm almost quite clear of that, quite sure of that. So it is true. You can, of course, remain loyal, right, even if you are apart. Right? I mean, I was 4 years at Lenovo, all right, and I would say that I am loyal to IBM even through the 4 years. And now that I'm back in IBM, I would also say that I'm pretty loyal to Lenovo. One is my mother and one is my mother-in-law. And my mother-in-law, physically, my real physical mother-in-law is a wonderful, wonderful lady. So it's not that kind of, not nice relationships. It's a wonderful relationship. So one's my mother, one's my mother-in-law. So you are right. You can be loyal without being inside. All right, and like you also related, especially when I was away in China for 8 years, I think, being the Singaporean factor was actually, brought to light a lot more. Even among my kids, National Day is red and white day. You go dig out your red T-shirt or whatever, the family must be in red and white, and they would have their little flags. And, they practically lived overseas. Now is the challenge. Huh? Now they're teenagers, go university, overseas. I got to figure out.
No, which is what I guess I'm driving at.
Yes.
It's often said that the younger generation do not, increasingly, are losing the capacity for loyalty. Now, is that fair? Is it that the younger generation are really losing the capacity for loyalty, or is it that we are too narrowly defining the term loyalty? What do you think it is?
Okay, for me, I will take the latter, all right? I think that, again, we must not define or constrain ourselves with what is loyalty, all right? because obviously there must be a commitment, an active participation and engagement, to really live out your true loyalty.
Yeah.
All right, and it is, I would say, we are in sometimes precarious situation if the younger generation have not lived here, have not been educated here, have not engaged and participated in any, how shall we say, community building, back home in Singapore. It is true, it will get
the foundation
precarious.
may not be strong.
Exactly. It will get precarious. I mean, when they are younger, like I said, in the years that I was in Beijing, the kids wear red and white. They will tell dad and mom to do the same, sing Singapore songs, count on me, Singapore. They know all the words, right? Then the challenge is now. So back to the point of whether, is it that the young people are less loyal or lose this concept? I think perhaps we got to see it from their point of view, all right? In their generation, we, the adults, are the ones who have brought them up to say, you are a global citizen, right? You are a global citizen. We must be prepared to let go first. And then, now of course, again, must be premeditated. How are we going to then help them shape back that commitment to Singapore? And that one is a question that I feel that we all are still challenged. I have spoken to a lot of people that we should let our universities, have summer programs so that our Singapore students can come home to do summer college. Because, summertime, when you're overseas, most of the kids are in international school, and therefore, summer is a long period of time. And what do the parents do, including Singaporean parents? Send them off to some US summer program, and voila, they will not be coming back to NUS, they will be going, and not that NUS can easy to get in. NUS is very difficult to get in. All right, but let's put that one aside. So how do we get them back to be connected? So there must be something that we, as if we consider we are the older generation.
You. Okay.
He is 26 and I'm 39, forever. Right? No, so I think that we have to do something actively, all right, to not ask for loyalty, ask for blind loyalty, right? We've got to be able to engage them in a meaningful way and help to create that community foundation building, which they probably miss. Now, of course, this is a minority, right? If you're talking about, in general, even the young people who live in Singapore and who work in Singapore, whether they feel that loyalty, maybe that's another different discussion.
What made you so loyal to IBM? I mean, you strike me as a woman of substance.
Oh, thank you very much.
What made you so loyal to IBM?
Well, again, like I say, all of the above. If I feel that the IBM company...
But if you have to choose one, one significant factor that has made you an IBMer for life, okay. What was it? What is it?
Okay, I must just say, well, our life is still a long time more. So I don't know whether how is what.
I think you are stuck with IBM.
You think?
How many of you think she's stuck with IBM? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, cut already, blue blood will flow.
Yeah.
All right, I guess the key thing is, what can I say? A company that dares to say, we have solutions for a smarter planet. It's called really bigger than life.
Hey, that sounds like a slogan, lah.
No, it is.
From your heart, from your heart.
No, it's true. It is true. That means, is it really? I mean, all through the years that I worked with IBM, this company has always...
It went down and then we came up.
You see, reinvent itself all of the time, which is a lesson even for us as individuals and perhaps even for countries. Fall, we got to be prepared, right? We are, after all, mortals, organizations or people, but prepared to stand up and can reinvent ourselves, all right? But jokes aside, if you ask me, the values are what, I feel that we are aligned. Doesn't mean that there are other companies that,
sure.
I can't align the values
sure.
with, but,
I guess, how many of you have heard of George Herbert, the poet? The British poet, George Herbert. George Herbert wrote a poem called The Collar, C-O-L-L-A-R. The priest. You're Catholic. the poem basically talks about the priest who lost faith in God after he wore his collar. He lost faith. He left the church, took his collar off, put it there, left the church, went about questioning the existence of God. And he found God. When he came back and put the collar on the second time round, it fit a lot better. You see what I'm driving at? That, for me, is loyalty, where you allow an individual to question, to challenge the very basis of who you are with confidence on both sides, and he comes back to you. That's conviction. Do you think IBM gave you, or IBM as an organization gives that opportunity?
Well, I guess I did exactly that, right? Maybe not quite, I put down the collar, but I did go. I was -4 years, right? And yeah, perhaps, I mean, there can be some element of analogy there, right? But, you know, I can only say that, you know, from an organization, whatever organization we work with, all right, we've got to have that sense of, you know, we enjoy what we do, the values fit, all right, and we do feel that what we do creates value for society.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I think it needs to go beyond. Loyalty requires you to go beyond enjoyment. Because enjoyment is something you can get from many sources.
Many things. That's true.
But that loyalty that we're talking about has to be something at the gut level. Right? It has to be something more than just enjoyment. For you, I'm sure it was.
Yes, yes.
You know, at a gut level to say, no, I'm not going to leave this. I'm not going to leave my commitment to this. Regardless of whether I feel betrayed. I'm going to stick to it. Now, what is it that makes you feel that way? We feel that with family, don't we?
Yep.
We do feel betrayed sometimes, but we still stick to it. Why? What is it that keeps us? Can't just be about blood, something else. I'm trying to get that from you. What is it?
So for you, why? Why do you think?
She's doing a Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah. You see, I'm a fast learner. He just taught me.
You know, we shared something earlier, right? I'm 53, and I continue to serve in the army. My liability actually ended as an officer, ended at 50. But I could have actually stopped at 43. But I'm 53, I'm still serving. A lot of my friends tell me I'm dumb. But why do I do it? I do it because I don't think commitment has an end date.
Well said.
Right? And for me, serving my country, if I question why I should serve my country, then I should also question why I should continue to love my parents. It's not an equation. It is an emotion without boundaries. That, for me, is what defines it. And an attempt to define it is actually ridiculous.
Well said.
Right?
Viswa.
So,
the oldest, the youngest colonel. Operationally ready colonel.
Actually, I'm the second oldest.
Oh.
Yeah. But, you know, I'm trying to get that because I feel that in this audience, I see quite a few of you who are younger. And I think these questions in this era, because I think when we were starting off in our careers, this wasn't an issue. Staying on a job for a life was the norm. In fact, even Professor Tan Cho Chuan, our president of NUS, in his maiden State of the University address, he made this comment, I think it was in that speech, where he said, you know, it's not a job for a lifetime, it's a lifetime of jobs. That's the new world. But a lifetime of jobs doesn't mean that you do not have the capacity to be committed to certain values, does it? Unfortunately, society does make you feel, make our young feel, that because you move from one job to another, you are bereft of the capacity to be committed. And maybe that's why you're equating that to the high divorce rates. I don't know, but I'm just trying to understand from you. That's what I'm trying to arrive at.
Right.
Does it necessarily equate?
Right. I don't think so. Right. So I think, again, cannot be blind loyalty and must be active commitment. All right. And loyalty says in good times and in bad. Well, in sickness and in health. All right.
Well, you remember it, huh?
Or for
well
poorer.
done.
Okay. Not for you. For my husband and I, till death do us part, right? I mean, that's commitment.
Yeah.
Right? But in society today, all right, perhaps a little more prevalent than our times when we grew up, is instant gratification, right? Instant coffee, instant tea, perhaps even instant babies, right? And so through all of that, through all of these, this environment that we are all faced with, all right, people have to make personal choices, all right? And I do agree with you that, of course, certainly, we hope that we can see between, the instant gratification and the longer-term outcomes. So perhaps we want to hear how some of them, out there.
I think this is probably a good time for us to throw it open to the floor. We'd certainly like to hear the views of the much-aligned younger generation. So can we have the first question? As I always say, please avoid speeches. Yes. This guy. I know him. Younger generation.
Good evening, Mr. Viswa and Ms. Ang. My name is Zhe Hao and I'm from the business school. So I'm glad to hear that you are still actively loyal to the business school. And last semester we did a case study on Lenovo. So I thought it would be a great chance today for me to verify what we have learned in class. It's nothing like learning, hearing it from the horse's mouth.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah, so is it true that Lenovo acquired IBM so that it could acquire the core competencies necessary to compete on the global stage and at the same time defend the home market from the global brands, the global competitors? Thank you.
Okay, all right. At least good question. All right, so first of all, Lenovo was a Chinese company that operated only in China, all right, at that time when they acquired IBM, all right. By acquiring IBM PCD, all right, overnight on May the 1st, 2005, it became a global company. I would almost say instantly, right? Because 10,000 IBMers everywhere who are part of the PCD or PC division, all right, overnight became part of Lenovo, and everywhere in the 147, 160 countries that IBM operates in, all right, Lenovo now became present. So it's obviously true. Chairman Liu Chuanzhi and CEO Yang Yuanqing at that time, all right, together with the management team, must have seen this as, the way to go global. Because there are many other ways. There was another Chinese company, somewhere else, that acquired a French company, but they, from the acquisition perspective, it was not as complementary as the IBM PCD and the Lenovo portfolio, all right. And so, with that complementary portfolio and the spread, instantly Lenovo became global. So it was definitely, your first question, definitely true, right? Second part, protect market. When IBM wanted to sell the PC business, all right, we actually looked for a suitor for a long time, all right, because IBM invented the PC. It was not about to just, it was not a matter of divesting, all right. It is a matter of, ensuring that value creation is expanded even as it departs from the mothership, all right. And China is the biggest market for PCs, and Lenovo is #1 in PCs. And I must say at that time, the Lenovo notebook, say 17% market share. When I was running IBM PCD, ThinkPad, 17 or 18% market share. So 1 + 1, by the time it came, it was more than 3. Right, so that's, so your question was good, and if you can validate it, you look at where Lenovo is today, I guess the chairman can look back and say, yes,
Yeah.
good choice.
Well, following up from that, there are quite a few questions that we got from the cyber audience who are tuning in, by the way, as this is going on. And one of those questions, yeah, this is the question. What are your survival strategies in your career in a developing country like China? It doesn't have to be just China, but any developing country. What would be the survival strategies?
Okay, first thing, all right, again, I speak from Janet Ang, right, but I will say it can apply. All right, have your head tightly locked on your shoulders. All right, we better be clear what are our own values, all right, because you want to go and be that coffee bean that changes the environment and not let the environment change you. All right, so a lot of the developing countries, based on whatever historical background and development, there may be values that are not quite the same. All right, so for me, I would say as you go into a developing country, number one, before you go, be clear of yourself. Know yourself, know your values, and have that very clear. Then the next part is do not look down, do not talk down. All right, for Singaporeans in particular, because of our language and our culture, and I will say that we've got that little window of opportunity to be a bridge. Even for developing countries like India, etc. All right, because we are in a way in a country whereby we are multiracial. We have been brought up in a diverse environment. Listening to different languages is not a problem. You just have to turn on TV, 4 channels. You probably can, So key thing is do not be arrogant. All right, it's not so much what I can teach you, but what we can learn from one another. Well, you want to learn from each other, again, depending on the time of which developing country we're talking about. Of course, if they are less developed, there's more that we can, bring in terms of contribution of value. Otherwise, we've got to be clear. We've got a competency that we can really bring value.
So, Janet, I understand what you're saying, but isn't there also a need for us to adapt to the environment? I mean, you talked about the coffee bean analogy, right? I mean, don't let the environment change you. But isn't there a need for us to adapt to that environment? Because we are, after all, working in that environment.
No, correct. So that's why you've got to have that subtle difference. So that means you must know.
So where does one draw the line?
Well, I will say values. Where the values are concerned, no compromise. But where where the culture, where understanding the language, how the people think, how the people work, I think those are the parts that we absolutely should adapt and don't just hang out with your same kind, right? Because then you really lose the very, benefit of being part of that economy or being part of that society.
Well, one of the criticisms leveled against us in the wake of the Suzhou Industrial Park, the early years, was that we're not adapting, right? We were very top down. We didn't quite understand the local culture. We talked in terms of Beijing, right? When actually the power was vested in the local authorities, So it really showed a certain naivete, a certain lack of understanding or appreciation of how that particular polity is organized. Now, how would you say whether have we grown out of that?
Oh, yeah, I think we absolutely have. We obviously, now I think Suzhou Industrial Park and the SSIP is actually doing very well, because it was an MBA class for Singapore,
yes.
All right, and we learned well after that.
What was the key lesson?
I think the key lesson is to understand that, the way people work and the way decisions are made, all right, it cannot be just from the top, right? You've got to understand the desires of the people on the ground, all right? And like you rightly say, adapt to, the kind of model or the kind of structure
based on a better understanding and appreciation of that, creating a real win-win partnership.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I was not there at that time, but history can always repeat itself everywhere, right? That at the beginning, especially in a partnership between more developed and less developed, usually the more developed will have a tendency to say, "Oh, here I come to teach you something," all right? But we must not forget, perhaps it's being humble first, having that humility for, to recognize that, there will be things that we can contribute and add value, but there will be plenty of things that, in fact, by our giving, we're going to learn and receive a lot more, right? And I think, that's why the Suzhou initiative turned around.
Yep, we learned.
Yeah, and you can see that the success of the partnership goes from strength to strength, right? Such that even NUS now has a research facility in Suzhou.
Yeah, thank you. Next question, comment? Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Keeping.
Janet, I just want to know,
Yes.
you say that loyalty means you stay with the company forever, right? But what I'm trying to say is the rolling stone gathers no moss. Therefore, if you change from one country to another, one company to another, in the end, you learn nothing, right? So which is the better choice? You stick long time, a lifetime with IBM, or choose to go somewhere else.
Okay.
But the second one,
regarding... Wait. Wait. Let's do something different. How many of you here agree with that view?
Rolling stone gathers.
Well, rolling stone gathers no moss is a fact, right? How many of you agree with the point he's making that for you to be loyal, you've got to stick to the same organization forever? How many of you agree with that? How many of you disagree with it? Okay, right. I'm going to ask the guy in the black t-shirt to go out there and say why, look at him and tell him why you disagree. Give you a break. How about that?
Good. No.
Good. You may not survive today.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that there is a...
There are two guys.
Oh, sorry.
You stay. No, both of you. We've got two for the price of one. Okay. Okay, we'll go with the guy who spoke first. Yes.
Okay,
introduce yourself.
What I'm saying is that there is a saying in Chinese is 身在曹营心在汉. So I think that you do not need to stay within a company or whatever country to just stay loyalty. You can stay wherever that the environment leads you and wherever you want, as long as you actually find the true loyalty to your home country or whatever.
Great. Are you a student with NUS?
Yes, I'm a student.
Graduate student?
I'm actually year 4, so yeah.
Okay. Right, thank you. Welcome to Singapore. Yes.
Okay, first of all, it gives me a great opportunity, and I'm really glad that I'm here. I've been in Singapore, first of all, a couple of weeks now. I'm new to this country. What I feel is I've been worked about a couple of banks right now. I'm switched banks. Right now I'm here on a job, new assignment. Personally, what I feel is it's about what you get, as rightly she said, the pleasure which you drive out of what you do. If you're really passionate, and if you think this is going to give you a value addition to yourself, because we all here, we don't work not only because of the company, it's only also because of what pleasure you drive out of that, what you really get out of that.
Yep.
How many of you today use mobile phones? All of you? How many of you use the same phone ever? Can anybody say that I use only Apple or only BlackBerry? Hardly few. Because you know why? Anything which you use different, what I feel is there's something extra you find in it. Today, the work culture, what you find in IBM, it is fantastic. You drive something great out of it. But some other organization which you find, there is a lot of more things which you find. Today for me, when I was in India, I worked out there for about 6-7 years now. Today, the work culture, what I see in Singapore, it's something which is fascinating. It's entirely different than what I felt, what I experienced in India. So what I feel is, if I had been loyal to my own company out there in India, of course I would have done well. There's no doubt about it. But I'm learning something more out here. Because that's what I look at. So that's why I feel you can still be loyal. The company which I'm joining right now as well, I'm going to put the all effort and the learnings. But I find there's nothing more in it.
So basically, you're saying that you don't necessarily have to become a
you
rolling
don't
stone.
necessarily stick on to the same organization as such. But of course, if you think there's something which is more you can learn, always you can need to switch jobs that will make you mold you well. So that's what. Thanks.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if I can just...
Now, 1 minute, huh? Now you answer.
No, not so much answer. But you jolted my mind. I forgot what I was going to say. No, I was going to say, key thing is motivation. What is your motivation to make that move? What is that motivation to stay? You know, and each one has to answer that question personally. Exactly, personally.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Now, my second question regarding Lenovo. During the 4 years you were there,
Yes.
were there any problem with the local authority, the Guanxi problem? Usually
problem.
you need to go and, soft pedal and you want something done, but particularly a local authority for license or for anything. Have you encountered any problem with them?
Okay, I guess, like I said, in China, whether you're in Lenovo or anywhere else, I wouldn't call it a Guanxi problem. I would call it, it's part of the culture of how to get things done, all right? And, you can do it the right way, all right? Or you can do it the wrong way, all right? And obviously, companies like IBM and Lenovo thrive even in societies like these. It's because we do stay true to our values. We might take a few more steps to get the thing done, all right? And not take shortcuts. But over the long term, we will be admired for it. We will be acknowledged for it. And so I guess, that's a different way to answer the question.
No, the other one more comment.
Hello.
I don't know when you joined IBM, did you remember your predecessor, Mr. Henry O, who was from the government treasury? Retired from government and joined IBM.
I'm 39 forever. I've heard of Mr. Henry O. I'm afraid, I have not actually met Mr. Henry O.
I see. But at that time, I joined the Borneo Motor, who bought a big mainframe costing $3 million. But the processing power is only 60K. And at that time, they have no training facility in Singapore. I had to be sent to Kuala Lumpur to learn training for about 2 weeks. So I was thinking, So I was thinking the revolution of technology is so fast that soon all this is out of date, and now you have the PC and the tablet and iPad. So that means
afterwards you can thank up her and have a long conversation.
Okay, right.
Thank you.
Thank you for being an IBM user.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ang, I think you're very humble. You never share something that is I am, as a person from the corporate world, knowing very well IBM is in a high-octane environment, you never share with everyone here that it's very difficult to stay beyond 10 years. And you have stayed beyond 23 years, and you're still counting your number of years.
31 minus 4, actually.
And it's definitely not the case of deadwood. It's definitely a case of reinventing yourself many, many times over. Maybe you may like to share with us your secret of reinventing yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, great question.
Okay, no, thank you. You've been very kind. Well, I will say, if I'm with a company that reinvents itself all the time, all right, from a hardware organization, principally 75% of our business, 80% of our business, in the pre-80s days is on hardware, and became an organization that today more than 50% is on services. All right. If you're in that kind of an organization, and if I don't learn to reinvent myself, then I think I've missed it. So perhaps that's also the other reason why I've stayed. I've reinvented myself, aligning myself to how IBM is reinventing itself. All right, so, thank you so much for being so kind.
Okay, there are many questions coming from the cyberspace, probably because it's IBM. Okay, this question, Was IBM your first job? If it was, were you just lucky or did consciously decide IBM is a place for you? If it wasn't, do you have any advice for young people who are looking for their calling?
Okay, wow, calling is another big word.
Calling, wow.
Right. Okay, so I must admit, all right, IBM was my first job. I've never written a resume. I was in NUS Business School. NUS Business School students are very well sought after. So IBM came to campus. I went for the interviews, and I got the job before I graduated. Right. So yeah, in that sense, you know, for that point in time, I would say I was good enough. You know, I've demonstrated, because I'm sure they had thousands of applicants. All right. But I was blessed and I was lucky.
This one? Any experiences to share about the challenges of being a powerful woman in the IT industry? Oh. The assumption is that you're a powerful woman in the IT industry.
So it's a wrong assumption. Humbly yours is, you know, doing my best every day, right?
But okay, maybe I'll modify this question. Huh? How do you balance this? There was another question about how you balance this, being a powerful woman, you know, holding the parang on one hand and all that, powerful woman, balancing that with being a mother of 4 and a wife.
Well, I knew that question was going to come.
And first 4 girls, mind you.
Yeah, 4 girls, 4 lovely girls. Yeah. All right, so first things first, you know, the imagery, not quite right. For all the ladies in the room, I think we take objection. Powerful women equals women with a parang. How about powerful women equals to women with a pen or women with a, you know, calculator? I mean, whatever other, but not necessarily a parang. Okay. So that's one part. No, I know. I mean, I knew that question was going to come. All right. So for me, again, I feel I'm truly blessed. And back to the bigger game, I will have to tell you a story that I usually tell to all the women leadership conferences that I have been giving speeches at, to encourage my fellow women, you know, that it can be possible, right? So today, you know, I'll share you this story, right? First things first is you've got to prioritize. You've got to prioritize. Yeah. But before even that, I will just share with you this story about you got to be resourceful, all right? You've got to, the first part of, the first story that I usually tell the ladies is, you know, this tagline: don't promote me, I'm getting married. Okay, right? Even me, all right. Back in the when I was, you know, when I was maybe 8-9 years at IBM, you know, I was enjoying my work, but when I was going to get married, I actually told the boss, "Don't promote me, I'm getting married." All right, wow. And I am really blessed that I've got a boss that is more enlightened than me, right? And he said, "What rubbish," right? And I got my promotion letter and on a fax machine in my honeymoon suite. All right, so I guess that changed my life.
So you see, never trust a woman. She never means what she says.
No, of course I mean what I said. Well, but I am glad I've got an enlightened boss. So why I tell you that story, key thing is sometimes we women in particular, you know, the guys are usually play a bigger game than ourselves. We usually limit ourselves, you know. We are very good. No, we got a better web brain than, right? But
actually, web might be the right word.
But okay,
it's called own goal, no?
No, where we limit ourselves, all right? So if we, for the men and women in the room, please, you know, it took that boss, that enlightened boss, to, do, and say whatever he had to say to me, all right? Naive as I was, you know, if I had followed through with the "don't promote me, I'm getting married," then, you know, I would like to believe that, you know, life would be a little bit different for myself, and I would like to believe that perhaps life is a little bit different, you know, without me doing what I'm doing. Right, so that's one. Second is, you know, you got to be resourceful. All right, when I got married, and you know, I wanted children. All right, and my husband has a family of 4, and I like that. Right, and you know, so we wanted to have, at least 4. All right, so we worked at it. Yeah, you got to work at it.
You worked at it,
right.
Wow.
So you got to work at it. You don't work at it, then no chance.
So you call it work, huh?
Work at it.
Okay.
Okay, you love at it, okay? You work at it, you love at it, you must come to, it must be the same.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess the key thing is I got to be resourceful. If I want to work, be successful, I would even use the word be effective, all right? Because, you know, success depends on how you want to define it, right? But be effective, be productive, you know, both at home and at work. Then, you know, I've got to make certain choices in terms of outsourcing, all right? I outsource the kitchen work. I outsource the cleaning of the toilets and the bathrooms. Don't try to be a hero, right? Because, you know, so I'm resourceful. I'll get the right help. And in Singapore, we are pretty fortunate, right? We've got maids and domestic help. And yeah, and I've got a wonderful mother-in-law who helps us. And at that time, my dad was still alive. He was helping us with the kids as well, right? So, you know, be resourceful.
And husband.
And most important, thank you. You know, he helped. I will tell Tony, you know, of course, didn't need you to prompt. I shared with you right at the beginning, I have a Mr. Mum. All right, I would almost say all is not possible if my Mr. Mum did not agree to give up his job, all right, and went with me along with the kids to my first international assignment in Tokyo. And then, of course, after that to China, right? So yes, I would tell all the ladies, you know, of course, many of them would say, oh, how to find such a Mr. Mum. Well, for all parents, bring up your sons correctly, open-minded, supportive, and in the end, it's a matter of teamwork.
Yes.
All right, it's not a matter of who, you know, who does what. It's a matter of teamwork and, you know, and yeah, family priorities.
Okay. There are many, many more questions, but I'm sorry to all those of you who are writing in. We don't have the time. If there's no further question from the studio audience, I'd like to put up this last question here. Okay, can we put it up, please? Okay, loyalty has been the key word you have mentioned. To whom or what should we be loyal to? Is it to what we are working for or to ourselves? There's an assumption of contradiction here. Chim, huh?
Must be yours.
No lah. Hi, where got ask this kind.
Loyalty has been the key word, okay? To whom or what should we be loyal to? Okay.
Is it for what? Is it for your work or for yourself?
All right, for me, you know, my favorite saying is from Mother Teresa. All right, I believe I'm not called to be successful, so I don't have to be loyal to success or wherever I find it, but I'm called to be faithful. Faithful to what I really believe in, what I really hold dear, and what I passionately feel I can bring to society, to my family, to my work that makes this place a better place, make tomorrow a better tomorrow. So I guess from that sense, you know, I've got to be faithful to all the choices I make, to the people I love, and to the situations I encounter and embrace. Right? So I know it's a little bit different from the kind of answer you might have expected.
No, I think that is an excellent answer. Don't you think so? Thank you.
No,
and frankly, Janet, I think in many ways that captures who you are. And I think it's come through. It's come through that you are a person who is you're a very honest person. I think you are very truthful to yourself. And what you said just now, I think your success is a result of the fact that you are faithful to yourself. And I guess that's a key lesson for me, which is if you want to be successful in life, be faithful to who you are, to who you really are. You know, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, it's not often that we find accomplished alumni. And this is the third year we're having you alive. And every month in the past 3 years, we've had a guest. And I must say, Janet, this has been one of the most rewarding evenings. Thank you very much.
You're so kind. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give her a big hand. Big hand.
Thank you.
Our alumnus. the CEO, MD of IBM. We are proud of you.
IBM Singapore.
Okay, we're not going to let you leave without something. So here's a picture of us together.
Oh, okay, that's fast.
Yeah?
Yep.
Show it to Tony.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
And
wow, that was super fast.
here's a little bit of work for you. I'll hold that for you.
Okay.
Here's where you say how much you enjoyed this evening.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Here.
All right, I must think.
Looks like she's going to take a long time. Anyone want to sing?
Yes, it's definitely going to take a long time. All right, let me say.
Okay, so trailer for next month. Next month is Minister for Law and Foreign Affairs, K. Shanmugam. Date 12th of July. Okay? I have a feeling it's going to be a hazy topic.
One word only, right?
One word? No, one line.
One line, okay.
You didn't say anything nice about me.
Yeah, I can say something. Mean. Okay.
Could you show it up to the camera and then read it?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, of course, for having me. This is indeed a homecoming, all right, for me. It's been refreshing, both the discussion with Viswa, and like I said, I'm really, truly privileged to have the chance to be, grilled by him because he has grilled many very important people, so I feel very privileged to be counted amongst them. And reflective, because as I had to prepare for this, and also in answering the questions, it really helps me to actually reflect, and again, be thankful for my blessed history, and that I'm really truly glad that NUS has been part of that journey and part of my blessed history. So thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, let's step out for some cocktails.
Okay.
This way, ma'am.
Okay.